Hi, my name is Audree Lee, Certified Holistic Health Practitioner. And today, I'd like to share a topic with you that I feel a lot of people want to know about, and that's altered chemicals and foods that we put in our home. And these are things that we bring in our home every day and we don't even know that we're doing it. And I want you to think about, as I share this information, what your kitchen cabinets look like. Are you guilty as charged about bringing in these toxic processed things into your house, hoping and believing that you're feeding your family, but what you're really doing is opening up a can of worms when it comes to your health? Are you complaining about achy joints, brain fog, or even anything that would cause the body not to be well? Well, you could be guilty as charged when it comes to this. Yeah, sometimes they call me the food police, and I think sometimes we just do need people to police our food. But let's talk about some of these altered foods that come into our house. If you bring into your home lots of packages, cans, boxes, and jars, and this is where most of your food comes from, you are guilty of something I call eating crap. And what I mean by that, we're eating foods that are chemically laden with things that are not good for our body. Because if they're in a bag, box, can, or jar, we usually have to read the labels to really find out what we're eating. And although we think we may be eating one substance, because of the way it has to be packaged, altered, and modified, and justified because of the FDA and all those things, we end up bringing more chemicals in our house than we probably want to eat. And some of the things that happen to us are from the side effects of the chemicals that are on the back of our food. When we bring our foods in, you want to not have more than maybe 5 to 7 ingredients, even on the back of the package, if you tend to eat a lot of processed food or foods in packages. And the reason I say that is because we're creating things from the things that we create in our kitchen. And if we're putting this ingredient and that ingredient inside of them, we could be creating a chemical experiment right at our dinner tables. So look at the boxes that you bring in and make sure that you know what's inside of them. Make sure that sugar isn't the first ingredient. Make sure that the things that are on the back of the package, that you recognize what those words are. Because if you don't, you're probably eating a chemical and you don't really know what it is, and you might want to Google it just to find out what it is and what it's doing to your body. And so I call all these altered foods. For instance, if I bought ice cream in my house, I want to know it's ice cream. And today when we look at ice creams, there's so many chemicals in there that they're not so good, even though they taste good. So I buy what I call nice cream from coconuts, from almonds, or I create it myself from frozen bananas. And that's one way to get some of the chemicals just out of my, let's say, desserts. When we're eating sauces and things and we create them from ourselves, herbs are some of the most wonderful things that we can eat, but not the ones that come out of the cans and the jars. We want to make sure that we created and that we know all the ingredients that went in so that our bodies can recognize it when it goes into our cells. And then let's look at the next thing that can be called altered foods. That would be anything that's processed. And what I mean by that anything that was originally something else processed into something that we eat today. For instance, when we think about processed food, the first thing that comes to my mind is the foods that we get outside our doors and we bring them to our house for food. They've been processed outside and now we eat them in our homes when we can make them ourselves. For instance, macaroni and cheese. When we think about macaroni and cheese, we think about what is the actual chemicals that are creating that powdered substance called cheese. When we can actually make cheese right from the cheese and put it into our food, and now it's a more natural way of eating macaroni and cheese without all the modifiers, stabilizers, and chemicals that come from the processed box. Or instant oatmeals, where we can buy the actual oatmeal and make our own overnight oats. Those are things that I mean by processed chemicals, because yes, we all want things done quick, fast, in a hurry. But sometimes hurry can mean hurry up and be sick, and nobody has time for that. So make sure that you're not one of those people bringing in those processed chemicals into your house. And then what about those artificial colors or flavors? Those come in all the colorful packages like Skittles, M&Ms, and even some of the delicious treats that we use as desserts. Those chemicals, They're dangerous and they're criminals when they get into the house because those colors are so dangerous. They're coming from everything that really isn't a real color. If I want color in my food, I use the foods that have color. Like I'll turn my carrot juice into something that I want to be orange. I'll turn my berries into something that I want to be purple. Or I'll even turn my greens into something that I want to be green. So as God created all these colors and said that we should be eating a rainbow every day, it's important that we know where the rainbows come from and we don't use chemicals as our colors to season our food. So make sure that you're conscious and aware of the chemicals that you bring into your house, because you definitely don't want to eat that. And last but not least, when we're talking about these altered things that are supposed to be food, what about the refined food? The things that we bring in our house, like the flours that we use. Instead of using the fake flours that are pearlized or colored and altered and cause toxicity into our body, causing us to swell, why not use a flour made out of chickpeas or something that you know that's a food? Almonds. These are just as healthy and just as tasty as those altered flours that we've been eating, but we have never been taught these things. This stuff was not passed down from generations, when back then, that's when food was the greatest, and that's why those people live so long. And I don't know about you, I don't want to just last long, I want to live long. And by knowing what to do is the best way to get that type of health. So, when we think about altered foods, remember that you don't want any chemicals, you don't want any refined, you don't want any altered foods or artificial foods, and you definitely don't want processed. And if you can remember how to read your labels and know what the truth is behind the labeling, you'll be safe at the plate at all times. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where we'll have more information for you to enjoy.